Rock stars, welcome to the Guitar Show. This is, well, I guess it's not technically the Guitar Show, but this week is the Music Theory Crash Course. And you saw our new crew cam set up. I told you we'd finally get it set up. How fun is that, right? So you can see as we're scurrying to get the signal to you and what have you. We're having a blast this week. If you haven't been with us so far, it's okay. Oh, they're saying no sound. No sound here. Everyone is talking, but it's quiet. Uh-oh.
I can hear it.
You can hear it? Okay. All right.
We can hear it.
Okay, cool. Maybe just a couple folks there who didn't have their speakers on. Maybe. I don't know. All right, so we've been learning all sorts of good stuff this week, and for those folks that... for those folks that have... I'm sorry, we're dealing with all sorts of new stuff today, which is super fun, but we got little bells and little fun things going on. It clicks every time you guys do a chat, and so whatever, it's cool, it's all good, we're good. So we learned a bunch of stuff this week, right? From Monday to Wednesday, we learned all about the major scale. We learned about naming the notes going up and down the fretboard. We learned springboards. We learned intervals. My goodness, we learned so many different things, and what we're going to be doing today is we're going to take the knowledge that we got earlier in the week, and we're going to talk about CAGED, the CAGED system, and we're also going to talk about, David, thank you so much for the donation, bud. So kind, as promised. Beautiful. We're going to talk about the CAGED system, and we're talking about bar concepts. What I mean by bar concepts is this. Anything that you do in the open position can be done further up the neck. Lee, thank you so much for the donation, brother. So kind. And because of that, it makes things 12 times easier than having to learn everything, say, like on the piano. I took piano in college, and when you're learning a scale, when you learn one scale, you learn one scale. If you want to learn another scale, you have to learn that, relearn it. And what I mean by that is, you know, if we were learning the major scale, G major, it's one fingering for G major, but then when you go to G sharp, it's totally different. Lots of sharps and flats in there, okay? Not so on the guitar. You probably have an inkling of this. You probably have seen this a little bit, but I'm going to explain it in full today. Stephen, thank you so much for the donation. Voyage, thank you for the donation. So kind. So you have an idea of this, but just like I mentioned to you yesterday, right? You may know what a tonal center is from the point of if it were taken away, you'd be like, hey, why does this music sound so crazy, right? But you know that without it, you would definitely hear it. Just like I mentioned, if my kid did not have gravity, he doesn't know what gravity is right now, but if tomorrow he didn't have it, he would all of a sudden miss it, okay? So we're going to talk about this concept in detail today. Jackson Winsnant, thank you so much for the donation, friends. Super kind. Someone's asking how to donate. Maria is. Maria, thank you so much. At the bottom left near the smiley face, you'll see a little dollar symbol. If you click on that, that will allow you to donate. Thank you so much. Okay, so that's what we're doing today. We're talking about bar concepts and the CAGED system, okay? So now, for those folks who have just joined us, Chris Thacker just donated a big something. I'm not sure what that is. 350 ZAR. I don't know what that is. But Chris, thank you so much. Super kind, my friend. Wow. Carl, thank you so much for the donation. So kind. So, bless you, Emmy. So, let's go back here to when we're talking about learning stuff further up the neck. You probably have found this to be true, right? If I were to play the scale, right? Just a little run there, not even a full scale. If I did that, and then I said, okay, I want to play that again, but I want to play it up a half step. Then I would start at the first fret, and I would play the same riff. If I wanted to play it yet in another key, I'd just scoot it up. Now, most of you know this idea. However, some of you don't. And for those folks, we're going to explain it in detail. But see, guitar players don't think sharps and flats and what have you. They're not thinking like that all the time. You could if you wanted to, and there may be a reason to do that, or I should say there are reasons to do that, but you're not going to run into them very often. And so what I will tell you to do, and most instructors, if they know what they're talking about, will also tell you to do this, is memorize the patterns, because when you're playing in a particular key, it does not matter whether you know the sharps or flats, for the most part. And I know there's someone out there who's thinking, no, that's not true, because they're thinking of one particular instance. I'm telling you that I've played for nearly 40 years now, and I very rarely am ever thinking about a sharp or a flat, except when it comes to finding the tonal center. Because if you don't know the tonal center, you don't know anything. It's literally the subject matter. So if you're going to have a speech and they want you to talk on a particular something, and they say, yeah, 8 a.m. is when the speech happens, there's 5,000 people, bring your best game, and you're like, wait, what's it on? And they don't tell you what it's on. Well, good luck. Now you get to do a speech and you don't know what the tonal center is, or you don't know what the subject matter is. That's what the tonal center is. You don't know the tonal center, you're not going to know what notes, chords, or anything to play. So when it comes to that, yes, I am very cognizant of, is it a G sharp or is it a G or what have you. But when it comes to playing scales and notes, most people don't really think about that all the time. Now, what guitar players will do is they will recognize what the interval is sometimes. So when you see me playing some blues, that sort of thing, and I'm playing over that A, I'm thinking about it as more as the one, because once I'm in another key, what does the A matter? What matters is the one. I've mentioned this to you before. This is the reason that we went through the intervals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? In the key of C, a C is a 1. In the key of F, the C is a 4, or is a 5, I'm sorry. In the key of G, the C is a 4. So, and a 1, 4, and a 5, each one of those keys has a totally different role, a totally different... Hey, are we on Instagram, guys? I forgot to tell you that. Are we on Instagram today, Emmy?
What's up?
Are we on Instagram?
Oh,
No. Okay, sorry. I didn't know if we were on there or not. I wanted to mention to you guys really quickly, and I just jumped into the lesson very quickly. We are live in a bunch of new places today, by the way. So we're live on Instagram, we're live on YouTube, live on Facebook, Twitch, other places. Any other places? Smashcast.
And we're still setting up a few more.
We're setting up a few more, okay? So we're going to be live in lots of places. So that's what some of the changes that you're seeing right now. We're using all sorts of different software and what have you, because we want to make this experience as cool for you as possible. We're also able to, for at least folks on Facebook, and actually I think all the platforms except for Instagram, we're able to actually bring your comment onto the screen, so you're going to see that and your name will be up in lights and all that good stuff. We haven't found a way to do that with the donations yet, unfortunately, and I apologize, it's out of our control. We don't create the software, but just FYI, when we bring the questions up, we'll do that. But I'm going to name you out by name, stop the show whenever there's a donation, because that is a kind gesture. Cool.
We got confetti.
Okay, and we got confetti whenever there's a donation. All right, good. And very quickly, I apologize, I jumped straight into the lesson. Everything that we're talking about right now is based off of the Unstoppable Guitar System Standard, which I'm giving you free today. It's in the description of this video, link 3. Or you could go to YourGuitarSage.com/UGS. For all things UGS, go there. The top 30 lessons, the pay $1 and get the whole enchilada for a month, the hey, I want to be pro, classic membership, the whole 9 yards. It's all there. We can't go into all the detail. If you're interested in that, you know where to find it. But at least, please take advantage of the free course that I give you. It's not free because it's not worth anything. It's worth probably about $1,000 of one-on-one lessons with me. But nonetheless, it's available to you today for free. Okay, plus PDFs and all the rest. Third link below. Okay. Oh yeah, like the video if you have not. Go ahead and do that. Thumbs up right now, please. Thumbs up. And if you've done that already, then do any of the others. Share it out to internet land, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. Cool? Yeah? All right? Okay, here we go. All right, Tim, thank you so much for the donation. So kind, brother. So, when we as guitar players think of, say, like the A blues scale, we just play it. And then if we wanted to play it in the key of C, that's it. And I'm not thinking sharps, flats, or anything. But I am definitely thinking about the tonic. So if somebody says, hey, Eric, we're in the key of C. Well, we need to all be in tune. Then I'm like, C, cool, we're doing C and C blues, okay. And then I know that that's available for me, okay. Now, sometimes what I'll do is when I'm learning, say, like, when I'm working in the major blues or I'm working in some territory that maybe I'm not as proficient as in another territory, I might go, okay, now what's going on here? So for instance, if I'm playing A blues and I'm like, okay, I heard this thing called the BB box and I'm playing up and I'm up here, and then I might start analyzing and I might say, okay, well that's the tonic, okay. Well, if that's the tonic, that's the key, then this is the major 2. Then this must be the flat 7. The 6 actually. This is the 7, the flat 7. And then I'll start analyzing other stuff like, well, this is the flat 3 or the minor 3. And then major would be so one might think about that stuff when they're analyzing this sort of thing, because later on you'll be able to recall it and you'll be able to say, oh, that's why I'm doing that, and that means that'll work on that chord, and then you put all the pieces together, right? Before we can get something and put it into our subconscious, right, it needs to go into our conscious mind first, and then it needs to go down. So we need to understand something first. This is why I always tell you to slow things way down. This whole idea of you think you're just going to plow through something is not a very smart concept. That's definitely a way to make things go longer. One of my students said that they say to their, I forgot what it was either their class or maybe it was in the military or something, but it was something, the phrase was, hey, we're running out of time here. We need to slow down. And I love that concept because, number one, it catches your brain and makes you go, hold on, we got to hurry up if we don't have a lot of time. No. Now, for certain things, yes, but when it comes to understanding something, you need to slow it down. And if you want to get to where you want to get to much quicker, you've got to slow it down. You need to conceptually understand something. Once you conceptually understand it, with your conscious brain, then it can go into your subconscious. Then you can play like Stevie Ray because he's done it so many times, but not without first understanding it, okay? It's just a gauntlet that we all get to go through, okay? So, that's the reasons why we'd want to know those notes, but other than that, we're not really thinking about the notes, okay? Sasha, learning so much after 30 years of playing. How did I go without this info for all these years? Yay, Sasha, I love to hear that, and that makes me so happy because that means that we're doing the right thing. The aha moments are happening. The lights are going on. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Sasha. And here's why. How did I go without this info for so many years? I'll tell you why. It's because of the exact thing that I'm always telling folks is learn by a step-by-step method. I did not do that. And 99% of the guitar players out there, well, it's probably changing now that there's folks like me and other folks teaching one-on-one or teaching step-by-step. But I didn't learn that way. And I dear God, if I had my system when I was a kid and I had learned that way, I would be light years ahead of where I'm at today, light years ahead. I would say to you guys, the way that you're learning this, you're going to leapfrog me so quickly, it's not even funny. And I'm a little envious, to be quite honest with you. You're going to learn stuff so much quicker because you're literally learning it step by step in the way that it should be taught. But most teachers don't do that. A lot of teachers don't want to be teaching. They wanted to be a rock star. They wanted to be this, that, or the other thing, and they don't want to be teaching. But alas, I love teaching. And so it's real easy to pick up the guitar and start playing something and it sounds good right away. And because of that, we were getting that constant feedback. And that's why sometimes people go, I don't need to learn anything. I can play. Look, I'm playing guitar. And you're like, cool, yeah, you are. You're playing guitar. That's true. But does that mean you've exhausted the instrument and there's nothing else you can learn? Yeah, absolutely not. Because I still haven't even come close to scratching the surface of what this thing can do. Not even close. But probably 3,000 videos in now, almost 40 years, over 10,000 students, and I'm starting to scratch the surface of what it can do. All right, so all that to say, there's a ton of things that we can learn on this instrument, okay? Okay, so the idea that we're talking about today is based off of everything that we've done before, everything that we've learned, but now we're stacking stuff on top of it. Anything that we do, any riff, any scale, any note, any chord, any arpeggio, any triad, any double stop, anything that we do in the open position can be moved further up the neck into every single key. Make sense? I'll say it again. Any riff, any scale, any chord, any double stop, any motif, any single note, anything that we do in the open position can be moved further up the neck to reveal the same exact riff, but in another key. What do you mean in another key, Eric? What I mean by that is this. If we go to a birthday party, right, and someone comes in with the cake and they go, happy birthday to you, and everybody starts singing it together. In fact, right now, in your mind, if you were to start singing this, if you haven't already, you would be singing in the same key as me. Now, why and how in heaven's name did that happen that we all started singing in the same key? Because there's 12 different keys, right, by the way, right? How did we do that? Well, because I started it and you guys just followed me. But in that same way, I chose the tonal center just out of the air, just started singing happy birthday to you, right? I could have said, happy birthday to you, or I could have sang, happy birthday to you, right? All different keys there, and whatever the tonal center is, we would all have been able to jump in there. But nonetheless, it's the distance, or the intervallic distance, as we studied yesterday, we studied intervals, right? Remember the major 2, major 3, perfect 4th, perfect 5th, major 6, major 7, bookends, right? We had the unison, we had the octave, and then the notes that were right before the major intervals were the minor intervals, except for between the perfect 4th and perfect 5th, we had the tritone, aka the sharp 4, the augmented 4th, the flat 5, the diminished 5, right? We talked about that. So what is the same is happy birthday to you and happy birthday to you. Maybe I sang that one in a mode, I'm not sure. But nonetheless, the difference between those two is this. The tonal center is different, but the intervallic distances between the notes is the same. Okay? So, if I play, that's the first 5 notes of the major scale and going back. We can all agree that this is the same melody, but we're moving it to a different key. We're just playing in different keys, and I'm not thinking sharps or flats or anything. Cool? Right? Yeah? Cool. Excellent. So, because of that, we can take any concept and we can move it up the fretboard. And because of that, today we're going to talk about the CAGED system and the bar chords. Now, forget about actually playing the chords. Whoa, Eric, what do you mean by that? What I mean by that is I'm not going to teach you how to actually fret, and we're not going to manhandle the neck, and I'm not going to go into all the things that you might do with your hand, because that has nothing to do with music theory. That has to do with you practicing and you learning how to do that. I've got plenty of videos for you on that. If you want videos on the CAGED system, search YourGuitarSage CAGED. If you want bar chords, search YourGuitarSage Bar Chords. You know, YourGuitarSage number system, whatever it is that you want to study here on YouTube, or on YouTube if you're watching on another platform, that's where I'll show you how to do that. Obviously in UGS Pro, UGS Standard, I have many of those videos, okay? So what I really want you to do today, and I say this all the time, like when I'm teaching bar chords, when I used to teach bar chords to one-on-one students, or I'm teaching in video, I always say there's two things we need to learn. We need to learn the concept so that you can understand, and visually in your mind's eye, you can see where the chords are forming and why they're forming and why it's called the CAGED system, and why is it that that's a C formation but yet not a C chord and all this. And we're going to talk about that. So if some of this is going over your head, it's okay. Okay? It's okay. It just means that we have to fill in the blanks, and we're going to do that today. So, I'm thinking, where was I? So, we could do this with any concept here. I was going somewhere with it. Oh, yes. So I'm going to teach you the CAGED. I'm going to teach you the bar chords, but the only thing I'm going to do is show you where they lie on the neck. You actually getting to play them is a whole nother story. And it's something that needs to be addressed, and we'll address it, but at a different time, okay? I just want you to be able to visually see on the fretboard, oh, okay, I get that. And with bar chords, that's the way I teach it. There's the actual understanding what's happening on the neck, and then there's the actual playing of the chord. Two separate tasks. Why do I separate them? Because you're not gonna melt down when your brain is going faster than your hands. And in this way, you can conceptually go, oh, okay, I totally understand that, Eric, that's awesome, but I still can't fret them yet. That's okay, bro. That's okay, sister. You're going to get it, okay? It's just a matter of practice, okay? So, let's talk first about the idea of bar chords. I like to use a capo for this because you will get the concept of a capo. Capo, capo, cupo, cupo, I don't care what you call it. It's that thing that sticks on your guitar. It also seconds as a chip clip. If you have a lot of them like I do, then it will work as a great chip clip. Or as a hair clip, honestly, and at this point I probably could wear it. So I like to use the capo as an example because it acts as our nut. This is the nut of the guitar. And if you wanted to play something lower than the nut, you can't. You'd have to detune the guitar, right? So that is the lowest note that we could play at right there because it's being stopped by the nut. But if we put the capo on, we could actually go up and so on and so forth, right? Cool. Right, so I said anything we do in the open position can be moved further up the neck. Yeah? Yeah, good. So watch this. Here's an E major chord. If I took that E major chord and I bumped it up a half step, at least my fingers. Now listen. Well, number one, that sounds great because, right, we got this sound. But we're not playing flamenco today, but nonetheless, we got this actually sounds cool. But now that that's in your ear, it's probably gonna sound fine, but I'm trying to make it not sound fine. This is the E major chord. This is obviously not an E major chord. It's not even an F because we have those other notes sounding. So, because I moved these fingers up, but the other strings are still open, right? 6, 2, and 1 are open still. James B, I really enjoy watching your videos. Keep up the great work. James B, thank you so much for the super kind donation, brother. So sweet. And I love those red Stratocasters. So, if I move my fingers up, the other strings just stay there. They're not moving anywhere, right? Even though I'm fretting up the fretboard, the open notes are staying where they're at. This is an E. It's not affected because I don't have a finger on it. Make sense? So if I wanted to move this up a half step, I could, but I should put my capo down up a half step, 1 fret as well. And now it sounds like a nice E chord again. And I could keep doing this concept to an F sharp, to a G, to a G sharp, and so on and so forth. And whatever our low note is there, that's the tonic, or the root, I should say, of the chord. So back to here for our E chord, that's the root, okay? That concept makes sense to you if you've used a capo before, right? We could do this with, any of the 5th string root chords. A minor, then we could capo, play A sharp minor, B minor, C minor, and so on and so forth. Now, people get confused because they're playing this and they're like, no, that's an A minor. And I'm here to tell you, friends, that ain't an A minor. It feels like an A minor, but it ain't, because this is an A minor. But if you go into the band and you're like, I'm playing an A minor, I'm capoed at the 2nd fret, your keyboard player doesn't know what that means. You need to tell them what chord that is. That's why we're learning this stuff. It's a B, because we want A sharp, B. Okay? Number 1. So understand that there's what I call the feel of a tune. So like if I was playing G, C, and D, or what feels like a G, C, and D, it's not because I'm capoed, but it feels like a G, C, D. This is a G, C, D. Now that's a knife, right? Now that's a G, C, D. This right here, G, C, D, is not G, C, D because we're up a whole step. So this is A, D. What is this? A, D, E. Cool? Okay, I think you got that basic idea there. That when we move this capo up, we're changing the note, but we're not changing the feel of the chord. Cool? All right, good. We're going somewhere with this. Now, we could also not use the capo, and we could just use our finger. Oh, Eric, don't go down the bar chords lane. You're going to scare me. Look, we're not trying to play these today. We're just trying to get the concept. So here we go. Here's an E minor. Now, I always say if you want to really get good at this, what I want you to do is I want you to free up your first finger as much as possible. So if we're playing an E major chord, the first finger is not freed up. I'm playing it with fingers 1, 2, 3 right now. So instead of 1, 2, 3, I should play it with fingers 2, 3, 4, like this. That frees up my first finger because now it will act as our bar. A bar is when we lay our finger across all the strings, unlike how I teach you when you're using your fingertips. We've got to learn that first, and we do. Inside of UGS Standard, 3rd link below, it's free for you today, okay? So we free that first finger up, and then later on when our fingers get stronger and our technique gets better, we can start looking at bar chords. But instead of having to carry our capo around with us everywhere, and maybe we just have one chord that we need to play as a bar, it makes a lot more sense to learn how to bar chords. Now, for those of you that have issues with this, with the actual playing part, you can always search effing F chord on YouTube. Search effing, E-F-F-I-N-G, F chord, and I'll show you how to actually play the F chord. Once you know how to play the F chord, it will literally reveal about over 100 chords for you. We'll talk about that today, okay? All right, so here's our E major, because it has the low E in the bass, and then if we move this up a half step, we have an F major. Here, from here on out, we'll just call it the F. And then we can move that up to an F sharp. That's an F sharp bass note. And then I can move it up to a G. G bass note. G sharp bass note. A bass note. A chord. A major. That's why these sound the same, because they have the same combination of notes. So this idea of barring, we could do with absolutely anything. Here's E minor. Or let's take the major chords, because we're going someplace to the CAGED system here in just a moment. In fact, let's grab a C chord. No, let's not. Let's do the easy chords first. So E major, right? We want to move that up. We free the first finger, and boom. This is called an E form, okay? Because it feels like an E. Some people say it feels like an F, but we're getting it from the open E chord. We move it up the neck. You can play it in all 12 keys. That's the power of bar chords, because for every one chord that you learn, you actually get 12 chords. Tom Bagby, these daily videos have become a great part of my quarantine day. Been playing since 1965. Beautiful. That's when my Stratocaster was born. Love it. Still learning. Thank you. Tom, thank you so much for the super kind donation. Super sweet. I appreciate that. Love it. And I'm so glad that you're joining us here during this time. That's why we started this, is to keep people's minds on the good things that are happening and keep their minds off of that daggone social media and or the news. The news. Okay, so here he goes. Here he goes. My crew They give me crap. All right, so here we go. So this is the E chord, and it's going up this fretboard. Here we go. And we can do this in 12 different keys. Cool? Right, good. Now, that's E. We can do this with the D chord, too. Now, if you watched the Marty video that just went up the other day, Marty was in our studios, Marty Schwartz was in our studios, and he hinted on this idea. He said if you take a D chord and you can move it up the fretboard like this, and it becomes 12 different chords, and that blew his mind when he discovered that. It blew my mind too, Marty. I am with you, brother. So here, we're going to do the same thing. Here's a D chord. If we were to put our first finger where the nut is, then when we do go up the fretboard, right, when we do go up the fretboard, then we would get something like this. That's a D sharp, and then this would be an E. Now, don't worry about actually playing it. Friends, you got to get through this. We're just trying to get concepts here. Don't let one area where you're not good at something or you're not as good as you could be at it yet, don't let that one thing malfunction you and short circuit you with the other thing. Right now we're just trying to understand the concept, so you should just be looking at this and going, yeah, I get it. If you're trying to finger this and you're having a hard time, you're like, I don't get it. No, you get it. You just may not be able to finger the chord yet. Eventually we want to do that, but separate the two. I promise you, it'll help. So there's our E, and here's an F sharp, and so on and so forth. So we could take this chord or any chord and move it up the fretboard and find what it is we're looking for. That's the D. Okay, so we had the E, we had the D. We could do this with an A chord. A major, you've seen that one. So we're going to free our finger up here. Usually can't get that last note out, but if I were to move this up like this, there's a B flat or an A sharp chord. Here's a B, here's a C, C sharp, D, and so forth, and we could just keep going up the fretboard using the A form. So this feels like the A. Make sense? Bunny McIntyre, wow, this is great. I just found you just yesterday, brand new subscriber and brand new guitar player. Woo! Less than a week ago. So grateful for you and all you have available. Love that, Bunny, and I love your name. Hopefully that's not even a nickname. Hopefully that's your real name. If it's not, it's just a cool nickname. So, and Bunny, if you are new, you know what to do. Get inside of UGS Standard, that free course that I have for you, because I promise you it's going to help so much. So, welcome, Bunny. Thank you so much. Super kind. Okay, so here's the A form, and it moves straight up the fretboard. I'm really trying to get this into your brain about the feel of something, because even though I know this doesn't feel exactly like this, you can understand that we're getting the, you know, you can play the chord like this, you can play it like this, and then we're just moving that A concept up the fretboard, or that A form, or the feel of A. Make sense? Okay. So we did this for the E, D, A. Let's do the G and C, because we can do it for the G and C too. Now, the G chord is right here, and this one is, we're never probably ever going to use it, but I still want you to be able to visualize this on the fretboard, okay? So here is a G, right? I'm gonna act like my finger's here on the nut, and if I go up a half step, that's what it looks like. Now, who's actually gonna play this chord? Not me, Jack. I ain't doing it. Ain't no one got time for that, so I ain't doing it. But it's a good thing to understand. Also, what this allows me to do is allows me to go, okay, well, if that's my chord, then if I capoed here, now I would have that bit, right? So it allows you to know where the capo's gonna go as well. See? It allows you to know where the capo is going to go. So we could take that concept and move it up the fretboard. Please do not think that you need to play this chord. I just want you to be able to visualize where it's at, and that's all. And when we talk about the CAGED system here in just a minute, we've actually are somewhat in it here a little bit. You're going to, it's all going to come together. Your mind is going to get blown. Get the mop. Get some sandy wipes, because it's going to get messy, I promise. Here's a C chord, right? Right there's a C chord. Well, Eric, you can't do that with a C chord, because the C chord is not a bar chord. Oh, yeah, it is. Watch this. We got to free up that first finger, right? So 1, 2, 3. Let's do 2, 3, 4. Let's free up that first finger, right? Now this guy is right over here, and watch this. That's a C chord. We don't need it yet because we have the nut. So now I'm going to go up a half step, and now I have a C sharp. Again, this is probably not a chord that you're going to play. Okay, but it's a good one to know. Wolfman, we're in sync, brother. You need to refresh your browser there. I like your name, Wolfman. Okay, here you go. Going up the fretboard, we have all 12 chords, all 12 major chords with a C formation. It's a C formation, and then here it comes right back down to the C chord. So you can see that anything we do in the open position, we can do further up the neck. So we did C, A, G, E, D. Cool? All right. Good, good, good. Now, let's do this. Now, let's go. What I want to do with you very quickly, why don't we just go ahead and continue down the caged route right now? Let's go down the caged route, and then we'll talk about bar concepts, but I want to give you a lot more. I want to give you a lot more than just the cage system. By the end of this today, friends, if you know 5 chords, right now, C, A, G, E, and D, which, by the way, are our only 5 major open chords. F's not an open chord, by the way. I know someone's saying that, right? F is not an open chord. It's based off of the E major form. This small one is based off of the E major form. Okay, so that's not one. It's just literally C, A, G, E, and D, which is why we call it the caged system, right? You know these 5 chords. I'm literally going to show you, by the end of this, you'll be able to play the cage system in any key, which is 60 chords, and we'll be able to take some of these bar chords, at least the E form and the A form, and we'll be able to create another 100-something chords from it. What? Yes. And then what that's going to do, like I like to do, I like to give you a little carrot. So you say, I want to learn more bar chords, and then you learn more bar chords, and then you're a complete ninja. All right? So I'm just enticing you here to see how powerful these chords are. All right, so let's continue with the cage system, then we'll talk about bar chord concepts. So let's go back to the fretboard here. What the cage system says is this. It says you could take the 5 basic open major chords, which are C, A, G, E, and D. And what we're talking about is just 5 open. It means they have open strings. They're not 7th chords. They're just, that's all that you could do. A minor is a minor chord. E minor is a minor chord. D minor is a minor chord. You can't use those. We're talking just major chords, okay? I'm clearing it up because I promise you someone's going to put something in the chat here. I've done this enough. I know when someone's going to speak up. So there's only 5 of them. But the really cool thing about this concept is that you can take every one of these forms and you can play the same exact chord, but with the form that we just played. Now, right now, I'm just playing them separately, C, A, G, E, and D. But what happens if we play them all as C chords? Oh, now you just lost me, Eric. You've lost me. Okay, watch. Here we go. Here's a C chord. We know it's a C chord because my guitar's tuned, and this is what they taught us back in the day. This is the C chord. Agreed? Yes, agreed. That's a C chord. Now, if we were to identify that this is a C note right here, then we could take our A form, the one that we played like this, a la like that actually, we could just move that up to a C. So A sharp, B, C. So there's our C. I could play it like that or like this. However, I'm going to play it like this for right now. So there's a C chord, but an A form because it looks like the A chord. Okay? For friends, this is going to trickle in until all of a sudden your mind blows. But it's going to be a trickle in. You're going to get this slowly here. So just stick with me. Okay? So here's an A major. I'm sorry, it's C major but with an A form. Here's C major with a C form. It looks like a C. It is a C. This is a C chord. It sounds like a C. It looks like an A. Now, if we use the G form, here's a C note. So I'm going to base my G form on that. And now I have another C chord, but with a G formation, right? Looks like that G chord. It's still a C bass note, so it should sound like a C chord. So C, C with a C form, C with an A form, C with a G form. Now, what's next? C, A, G, E. So let's do this E form. We're sliding it up to the C bass note, and now we got E. So it's an E formation. It feels like an E, right? But it's, in actuality, it's a C chord. C, 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 C. You can hear they're all the same chord, right? And now here, our pinky, we could base our D formation straight off of that. So now we have C, A, G, E, D. C form, A form, G form, E form, D form. What? Yes. Now here's a quick little story. I've taught online now for lots and lots of time, for many years, and I still can't talk. I've done this for a long time, and for a while there, as I was putting up lessons to YouTube, I would see lessons pop up that would say the CAGED system, learn the CAGED system, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been teaching for how long now? Super long time, almost 30 years, and I've done all these lessons, and I'm a guitar teacher, and I don't know what the CAGED system is. And that made me feel really weird. So I watched one of these videos, and then I was like, oh, I know that, but I don't teach it as the CAGED system. I'm like, here, you can play these chords all the way up the neck, and you can, easy, right? But I didn't learn it as the CAGED system. But if you think about it, it's pretty ingenious, because the chords move according to the word caged. C, A, G, E, D. Watch this. C, A, G, E, D. That's the formation, right? Here's another thing to help you remember this. If you're playing the C form, the very last fret. Now listen, this is really, really important, because if you don't get this, you're going to have a harder time remembering where your chords are. But this is the only thing you have to do. I'm going to show you 2 ways to remember this. First off, there are 5th string root chords, 6th string root chords, and the D is a 4th string root chord. What I mean by that is the root is on that specific string. So the C chord has a root note on the 5th fret, on the 5th string. An A chord has the root note on the 5th string. Those are our 5th string root major chords. The G chord has a root on the 6th string. An E chord has the root on the 6th string. Those are called 6th string root major chords. Okay, so we have 2 at the 5th string, 2 on the 6th string, and our D is a 4th string root chord. Cool? All right, so there's 2 6s, 2 5s, 1 4. But they all work together. So usually the 2 are together, like this. Here are the 2 5th string root chords together, the C and the A. Okay? And then the G and the E are both 6th string root chords. Cool? And then the D is the 4th string root chord. And it basically goes backwards, okay? So it's like, wherever you're at, that's going to confuse you. Forget I even said that. I'm going to show you yet another way to think about this. For every last fret that you play, this is super important. Listen up. I'm not joking. This is really, really important. You've got to listen to this one. The very last fret of whatever chord you're on is going to be the first fret of the next chord. So if this is our C chord and this is our last finger going up, which it is, right? Then get ready. Here's our A form. What I'm going to do is I'm going to line the chord up. My hand is going to shift. So if this is at the 3rd fret, I'm going to shift my hand up to the 3rd position, which means my first finger goes behind the 3rd fret. So here I go. Boom. Okay, so that's all I did. This is the 3rd fret, and I'm going here, because now I can play the A form. Cool. Now, this is the last fret that I'm on, so that means this is the 5th fret. That means I'm going to bump up to the 5th position because it's the last fret. And so I'm going to put my finger right there, and now I got my G form. This is going to help you grab the chords and visualize them a lot quicker. Mind blowage. Here we go. Some of you hadn't got it yet, but you will. Here we go. This is the 8th fret. 5, 6, 7, 8. 8th fret. That means the very last fret that we're on, that means it's going to be the 1st fret of the next chord. So here we go. I'm going to go into 8th position, meaning my first finger goes behind the 8th fret, and now here's my E form. Easy enough. Now, my last finger here is on the 10th fret, so that means that my next chord is going to start on the 10th fret. So I'm going to put my first finger here, and the rest of my chord is right here. Now, we just did C, A, G, E, D forms, and now guess what? Now, you can notice this little triangle that's right here, that's from the D chord, looks like that. That little triangle is the next part of our chord. So, boom, right there. Here's our C chord. Make sense? That's the only one. So if you're starting at C, then this is going to work. There's that little triangle. You got to remember that. Boom. Okay? Now, let's kind of 30,000-foot view this thing. Here's the chord, C. C with a C form. C with an A form. C with a G form. No one ever plays that. C with an E form. C with a D form. C with that high... Nah, I can't play it. Can't get up there. Need to cut that out. I'm not going to do that. But you get it. Same chord, but different formations. Now you know how your favorite guitar player's playing up the neck, playing all these different chords. Now, why would we want to know this? For many, many reasons. Number one, if you're playing in a band and you got one guy doing this, and then you want to do this, and then you got another guitar player going, because they're using that G form. And then you got another form going up here going. And then you got the soloist going. Make sense? So, that is why that's important. Now, what else it's important for is that you can use that capo. So, for instance, if I'm playing here and I like that feel of C, then awesome. But if I don't like that and I say, man, I really like the feel of G. Well, here's a C, here's a C. And if I play that G form there, then I can put my capo right here, because wherever I put my bar is where I put my capo, and I can play that same G up here. And if we know the number system, like we studied yesterday, then if I'm playing a 1-4-5, like 1-4-5, then I could come up here and play 1-4-5, easy enough. Or I could play 1-4-5, or I could play 1-4-5. And I'm playing that in, what's that, 4 different places now? Why would I do that? Well, because if I'm in a band and one player is playing in one form and then another player is playing in another form, this will allow us to have different places in the register, just like an orchestra has the double basses and the piccolo flutes and everything in between, the violas, the violins, the cellos, you know, et cetera, because if everybody's playing the same notes, then it's called masking, and it will end up stealing that frequency. So for the same reason, if you were in a room where everybody had the same frequency when they were talking, they would start canceling each other out. Or if you were just at a party and everybody was speaking in the same frequency, then what's going to happen is it's just going to sound like a cacophony of one particular pitch. But if you have somebody with a real low voice and they're talking down here and and you're at a party and you're like, listen to this guy. Or you had a girlfriend who used to just cackle so loud. It was actually cute, but it was really high. And so you would be able to hear that because it's in a different frequency, right? Whatever, it's not how she did it, but nonetheless. Marine Mama 62, thank you for the donation, so sweet. You've been donating a lot, Marine Mama. Thank you so much. Super, super kind. All right, so not only does it allow us to use that capo now and be able to play in different feels and what have you, which I said yesterday that I do this in the studio all the time. If I'm laying down guitar parts, if I'm laying down acoustic parts, let's say I'm laying down 2 or 3 acoustic parts, then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my capo, and I'm definitely not gonna play the exact same part for the most part. You know, if I'm playing... I could double track that and lay another one, and then it'll sound like 2 of me doing the same thing, or I could just literally do this. Now we have different frequencies happening, and it's going to sound bigger, fuller, okay? More like an orchestra. So that's another reason why we would do this. Also, if we were just playing and let's say we wanted to do something further up the neck that might be kind of solo-like or whatever, if I'm playing the C, I might go... That's a C. You know? Or in the case of Comfortably Numb. Gilmore does this. He goes... Which, by the way, is a D form, but he's playing it as a D chord. That's the Marty thing that he talked about, right, the other day. There we go, D, and this, here we are. And then he goes, which is an A form. So now you're playing arpeggios, and this is good for soloing. It's good for all sorts of stuff. Look, the more you can navigate, the better navigator you are. If you were a guide in the Grand Canyon, right, I would rather be with a guide who really knows their way around places than some jackball who just wanted to do that and wasn't prepared, right? And as a musician, you should want to be prepared. You should want to know how to navigate the neck really well. So that's yet another reason to do this, okay? So now we can do this for any key. Doesn't matter. Whatever note we're playing. J. Rick 92, thank you so much for the kind donation, brother. Thank you, thank you. Are you saying the caged idea only is used with or for bar chords? No, it's not. It's just, no, it's not. It can be used for anything. It can be used for scales, it can be used for all. It's just basically patterns that appear on the fretboard. So it doesn't have to be bar chords. And again, like here, that's not a bar chord, that's an arpeggio. I'm stealing that right out of that D chord. Right there, that's a whole arpeggio. Which I teach those inside of UGS Pro, by the way. Those sort of sweep picks, or arpeggios. So we do this with anything. If we were playing the G, and we wanted to find all the forms of the G, I just want you to think about the bass note. Okay, Eric said, okay, so here's the quiz. Let's do this, all right? Steve, thanks for the donation, brother. Here we go. Let's try this together. I'm going to need your participation. You ready? Here we go. I'm playing a G. If you know how to spell the word caged, then you should know what my next chord should be. If you know, if I want to play a G, which I am, I'm playing a G, and I want to play the cage system of these chords, I want to go up the neck and play all the chords, well, I'm going to follow the word caged in order, right? So this is a G chord with a G formation, but my next formation would be a what? What would I do? What would be my next formation? We're thinking about the word caged. Caged gives us all the clues that we need for our next formation. Here's a hint. It comes after the letter G in the word caged, and it rhymes with the letter E. Mike, thank you so much for the donation, brother. Thank you. And Thomas, thank you. As a UGS student, your teaching skill and kindness has changed my enjoyment of the guitar and life at 72. Yeah, I love that, at 72. We get so many folks in their 70s, 80s, and even in their 90s inside of UGS. And that makes me so happy because folks know that it has zero to do with days on this earth. It has to do with your mind. It has to do with your spirit, okay? Yeah, thank you so much for doing that. Thank you, Emmy. Mike, I do that all the time. Thank you so much. All right, so our next form would be E. Another way you could think about it, you could just spell the word caged, but here we're at G, so obviously the next note would be E, and the next one would be D, and the next one would be C, and the next one would be A, right? Because we're just following the word, we're spelling the word going up the fretboard. Another way you could think about it is there's two 6th string roots that are together, there's two 5th string roots that are together, and then there's the D, or the 4th string root. Okay? Good. Make sense? Yeah. All right. So, if we want to do this for G, here's the G form. And remember, it has less to do with the actual chord that we're on, more to do with the formation. And I'll explain that in a minute, because we're going to do a sharp key in just a minute. So here's G, here's our E, here's our D form, here's our C form, here's our A form. Here they're all the same chords, right? Good. Now what happens if we have a G sharp? I'm so glad you asked. So G sharp, there's our bass note. Depends on where we want to start. Do we want to start here on this G sharp, or do we want to start here on this G sharp, or do we want to start on the, do we want to start there? Let's start there. Let's start with that D. Okay? Oh wait, sorry, I went to the wrong note here. There's our D form. So, okay, so here's our G sharp. We could start on the E form. I always like to start at the lowest note, but it doesn't matter. This is just for exercise because, you know, in real world it's going to be different. But here's a G sharp. It's G sharp because it's G sharp in the bass, but this is a G sharp bar chord, which no one plays. I'll say that 700 times because I swear someone out there is trying this right now and they're like, this is why I suck at guitar, I'm quitting. No, don't quit. It's because no one plays this, so don't try to play it, okay? I'm even having an issue with it right now, so I just don't, no one's gonna play like that. It's goofy. It's like wearing your pants backwards. It's goofy. All right, so there you go. There's a G form. It's a G sharp chord. G form because it looks like the G chord. Now, we're going up, C, A, G, E, D, but we're starting on a G, so the next formation is an E form. And these are always connected. These chords are connected. So here's my E form, and then my D form, and then my C form, and then my A form. Super easy to do. Now, for a higher end exercise on this, you can always skip chords. So I could go, you know, go to my G form, go to my D form, go to my E form, go to my A form, go to my C form. So you could jump around, and that will make things a lot more challenging for you as well. Okay, and we can turn these all into minor chords. We can turn them into 7th chords. We can turn them into major 7th chords. We can turn them into minor 7th chords. And if you want to know more about that, like if you want to go down the rabbit hole here with the CAGED system, I have a video on YouTube on this. Search YourGuitarSage CAGED. But if you really want to go down the rabbit hole and you want to go, if you're like, oh my God, this is blowing my mind, what more? We can do this with other chords, minor chords. You can really do it with any chord, but the major chords make so much sense. They make a lot of sense. Then getting into the minor chords, minor 7ths, 7th chords, major 7ths, as I teach inside of UGS Pro, I've got a whole course inside of a courseception, and it will absolutely show you this stuff and it'll blow your mind. Cool? Okay, so that's it for the moment for Crisscross, Mac Daddy make you. That's right. Wearing your pants backwards. My little boy, he's 4, almost every morning puts his pants on backwards, and I friggin' love it because he looks so cute, and he comes out and his pants are backwards, and he's got the back pockets on the front, and he's a ridiculous kid. He's so ridiculously cute, and I always call him Crisscross, and I always say, Mac Daddy make you. That's funny. That's for those that just went over your head. That was a band from like the '90s or something. A couple little rapping kids, and they wore their clothes backwards, and it was really cute. Okay, Craig, no idea what he's talking about. I know, that's usual for me. I can rabbit trail. All right, so now we did that. Now we got CAGED concepts, and we'll talk about this a little bit more. Let's talk about bar chord concepts. Remember, friends, don't get overwhelmed if you can't physically play these. We're just trying to get them into the old noodle right now. Later on and in time, your hands will catch up to your brain. Your brain can learn stuff a lot quicker. But the actual fingering of it, that does take time and that takes practice, and that's not something I can do for you. I can teach you the concepts. I can show you how to practice, but you have to practice. Otherwise, none of this is going to matter at all. Okay, cool? All right, let's talk about some other bar concepts. So watch this. The cool thing about bar chords is anytime we come up with a new chord that we can play in the open position, that means we have 12 times the chords because we have 12 different keys. So it's not learning one, we're learning 12 for every formation once you can play an F chord. That's why the F chord is such a gauntlet. Everybody hates it. That's why I have the video, the effing F chord, and a few other videos on it, on bar chords. Just search YourGuitarSage bar chords. But nonetheless, once you can conquer this F chord, you can basically play the F minor, the F minor 7, and the F7. That's 4 chords times 12. That's 48 chords just here, just on the 6th string, if you can play an F chord. But I'm going to show you it's actually turns out to be more like over 100, okay? So let's take a look at this. Here's the E major. Here's E minor. Here's E minor 7. And here's E7. A lot of these chords I teach inside of UGS Standard, third link below. Check that out, okay, if you don't know these open forms. I'm assuming you know most of them. But nonetheless, any of these can be moved up further up the neck, and this is what I want you to work on as far as getting that strength in your hand is for instance, take the E minor and replace that with fingers 3 and 4, so you got that bar chord, and now work this up the neck. And this is not going to feel good, or just like going to the gym for the first few times, it's going to hurt a little bit, and you're building new muscles. But if you don't do it, you're not going to build the muscles. You're not going to build the dexterity to do it. So you got to do it. Here's the E major. Free up that first finger, and now we can move this guy further up the neck. And now we have 12 new chords. And anytime you want to make it minor, you lift that second finger up. That one concept is 24 chords. Wow, in every key, you got a major and minor chord. And those are the chords, literally, friends, you're going to use the major and minor chords 99% of the time. So if you can form this chord right here, then you can form this chord, and literally you could go your entire career and just play this form of the major chord, of the major and minor chords, and you'll be able to play 99% of the chords that you experience. Pretty cool. So here's minor. If we lift this guy up, we have a minor 7 now. And if we put this guy back down, or take our major chord, lift the pinky, now we have a 7th chord, also known as a dominant 7th. Any one of these go up the fretboard 12 times, and whatever our tonic is, our root, it's a C, that means that's a C7 chord. So it should sound a lot like this. Different voicing. I say it all the time. Some people say, that's a different chord. Really? Have you ever had chili from Wendy's? Yep, one time. I know, one time. Well, have you had your grandma's chili? Yep, it's chili, but it tastes different, don't it? Yeah. So this is a C7, that's a C7 by definition. They just have different voicings, that's all. Okay? Boom, we just did major, minor, minor 7th, 7th. Heck, let's do, let's go ahead and do suspended. Suspended is when we raise the 3rd by a half step. So we literally could do that. And now we have suspended chords going all the way up. That's 50 chords right there, friends. Is that right? 5 times 12, that's 60. Sorry, I'm mistaken. You got 60 chords there. Now, we could do the same thing here. Let's do some 5th string root chords, and then we're going to be done. Then I'm going to get to your questions, all right? Get the wipes, Steve says. Indeed, get the wipes. All right? Have I missed any donations here lately, guys? Yell at me if I did. Okay, just yell at me. Okay, we're going to get to your questions in just a minute, so get them ready. So here's an A major chord. This guy, as we learned, goes up the fretboard 12 times. A major, if we lower the 3rd by a half step, we get minor. And now we can bump this guy up the fretboard 12 times and get a minor chord every single time. We can also do a minor 7th by lifting that pinky up. Now you're going to get frustrated because your brain is getting this, your mind's getting blown, but your fingers aren't keeping up. That's okay, that's everybody. You're special, but not so special that that's not everybody, because it's everybody, okay? So there's our minor 7. We could also play a 7th chord by doing this. Or this guy. But we want to free that first finger up here, so we got, okay, and boom, going up the neck. Now we have dominant 7th chords. And whatever that is our root. So that's a B, that's an A B flat, that's an A. We could also do major 7. Move that guy up the fretboard. We got 12 different versions of that. Now friends, I don't know about you, but that blows my mind. Here we had A major, we had A minor, we had A minor 7, we had A 7th, we had A major 7th. Heck, let's do a suspended. If we did suspended, let's do it like this. So we had major, minor, minor 7th, dominant 7th, hold on. We had minor, minor 7th, major, major 7th, dominant 7th, suspended. So that's 6 times 12, that's 72. So we learned 72 plus 60, whatever that is. I don't even know how much that is. 132 maybe? No, 122. I think it's 122. Plus the 132. Okay, thanks, Mike. There you go. Plus the CAGED system. Friends, knowing that sort of thing is absolutely going to revolutionize the way that you think, okay? Because now you have all of these chords under your fingers, and again, it's going to take a bit to get your fingers to actually play the chords, and same thing with the 9th chords. If you play a 9th chord, J. Mick, 9th chords. Thank you so much for taking your time. You're my favorite teacher. Thank you so much, Simply Spoiled, for getting that. I really do. Some people go, it's too long-winded, da-da-da-da-da, because that's for that one person who might not know it. But I'm trying to help those who don't know this. If you know it already, sit back and watch a bunch of pretty guitars, okay? Otherwise, I'm here to teach people, and, we got to go through it slowly, okay? So thank you so much. Super kind, my friend. So, yeah, 7th chords, 9th chords, the Hendrix chord, all of them, they all work, okay? Alrighty, let's get to some questions. Diminished chords, same thing, all the way up the neck. They all work the same. A diminished chord is a minor chord with a flattened 5, okay? Okay. Let's get to some good stuff here, shall we? Yeah, learn the A and E forms first and the rest will be easier. That is true. Oh, friends, if you would also, all caps, right? Do all caps and a question mark. That will help a ton. Can you explain the difference between a 7th chord, a major 7th, and a minor 7th? Yeah, let's talk about it, George. We talked a little bit about intervallic relationship. An interval is the distance between two notes, and so the relationship is how those intervals make the different chords, if you will. Okay? So, When we're talking about a major chord, we will say, boom, a C chord. A C chord means a C major chord. We don't have to say the word major. We just mean major. As musicians, we know what we're talking about. We're like this. We're like, what up, C chord? It's our talk, right? We don't have to go, it's a C major chord, okay? It's a C chord. What's up? C chord, okay? If it's a minor chord, we will say it's a minor chord. C minor chord. Cool, gotcha. So, with that being said, when we say a C seventh chord, we don't have to go, is that a minor or is that a major? No, it's C major, throw in the flat 7 up top, okay? If someone says it's a C major 7 chord, that means it's a C major chord with a major 7 interval on top of it. So the major 7 represents the note that's on top. I'll explain this here fingering wise in a minute. If we say a C minor chord, we mean a C minor chord. If we say a C minor 7 chord, we mean a C minor chord, but throw that flat 7 in there, okay? There's a reason we don't call it a flat 7. We're not going to go down that far down the rabbit hole. That's why I've got my courses for you, and that's going to be an hour dissertation. We can't do that yet, okay? So essentially, a 7th chord is this. It's also known as a dominant 7th chord, George. And basically what you're doing is for the minor 7th chord and the dominant 7th chords, the only thing you're doing is you're adding, get ready to double your chord vocabulary with this one trick. Double your chord vocabulary. Here you go. We're adding a flat 7 interval to the major and minor chords. And I'm going to show you how to do this. Literally, if you know major chords and minor chords, and that's all you know, this will double your chord vocabulary with this one trick. Goes like this. If we're in the key of G, we got to know our major scale. I've told you a million times, it's the carpenter's square for the musician. We got to know what it is. We got to be able to use it very quickly. So, flat 7, Eric, I'll find it. I'll use my major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we're going to flatten that note. That's our flat 7. I'll do that again. Super easy. We go up the stairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's using our major scale. And then we go down a half step. And that's our flat 7. So, the definition of a dominant 7th, aka a 7th chord, is a major chord with a flat 7 interval thrown in there. So, here is a G major chord. And if I wanted to throw that other note in there, I could do it something like this. Now that doesn't sound very good, so I'm going to play it like this. So here's major. Here's our tonic. I'm going down. Here's the 7th, but we need the flat 7. So that's why I play that open. Let's try this with a C major chord. Here's a C. If I'm analyzing the chord, which we are, I'm analyzing the chord. If it's a C chord I'm analyzing, I need to use the C major scale to analyze it. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Flat that 7. And there's our C7 chord. If I'm going to play a B7 chord, I'm going to play this B major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Flat the 7. Okay, that's how we come up with our 7ths. Now, if it were a minor 7th, it's just the minor chord, but we throw the flat 7 in there. So for instance, if we wanted to play a minor 7, we play a minor chord, and we throw in our flat 7. So we go 1, if it's a G minor chord, doesn't matter what chord it is, whatever the tonic is, we need to use that major scale to embellish the chord and know what we're doing. So we're using a G major scale to compare the G minor chord. Yes, you heard me right, and I said that right as well. Because I know some of you are thinking relative major minor. No, not with this. With this, we use the scale for the chord. So here's a minor chord. Play through the major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Flat it. That's our flat 7. So we take our minor chord, and it becomes a minor 7. Same thing with if we did a B minor. We want a minor 7, we take our B major scale and we play through it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. flat that note, and then put that note into our minor chord. Now we have a B minor 7. Same thing with the major 7th chords. Basically, we're just taking a major chord, but we're putting a major 7th interval in it. Remember when we talked about, unison? Let's do this. We'll do it with a G. Unison, major 2, major 3, perfect 4, perfect 5, major 6, major 7, and back to our octave, right? Well, major 7 is the interval that we're putting into this chord. Because remember, if it's just called a G chord, we know it's already a G major chord. We're not going to say G major. We don't have to. Because if we know a G chord is a G major chord. So the major 7 is the interval. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if I take a major chord and I throw that major 7 interval in there, it's the G down a half step. And it's going to sound like this. There's a nice little jazz chord for you. When I discovered this chord, I wrote a song. Nice and jazzy. Right? Super jazzy. Okay, good. Great question. Let's get into some more. Yeah, MSG, thank you so much. MSG, beautiful. Remember to hit the thumbs up if you have not done so already. Yes, please hit the thumbs up and also share this out to the interwebs with the kids. Hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you haven't done all 4 of those things, please do that right now. Please, please. Jason Carter is saying, Robert Baker doesn't even know the CAGED system, and he is an amazing player. He's a beast of a player. I love Robert. He's a great guy. In fact, we did an interview with him the other day that should be going up pretty soon here. But he's an amazing player. And even though I haven't talked to him about it specifically, but even though he says he doesn't know the CAGED system, he probably knows it some way. He probably knows it like I know it, like I knew it before I knew the CAGED system. But doesn't call it the CAGED system, just like I did. Because, again, you can find this stuff organically. It's like I say, you don't need a guitar teacher. You really don't. But a good guitar teacher or a good mentor or a good leader in anything is going to get you to where you want to get to quicker if they have a heart for you, if they're trying to get you there and help you. So they're going to help you do that. But you can get there organically, and just like Robert did, I did too. No one taught me the CAGED system. I knew it myself. I stumbled across it from seeing patterns enough to where I just came across it and I'm like, this is that. But then I started watching videos on it and I was like, oh, cool, I know that. Awesome. Okay, great. All right. Caged maps over the pentatonic shape. Crisp77 is saying, caged maps over the pentatonic scale shapes. Can you please explain? Okay, so we won't go down the rabbit hole on this one, Chris, because it's a whole nother can of worms, okay? But essentially, with every chord shape, right, we have a little scale hidden inside there. And unless you're looking at a PDF for it, it's not going to be so apparent. So for instance, the pentatonic form that looks like this appears right there in that C chord. Okay. This form right here, let's see here. I just don't even use it. This form right here, hold on, I gotta think about this for just a second. Here's a C. Now, I teach this, but again, I don't use it this way. The only reason I taught it is because I had enough people ask me for it that I said, all right, I'll do a course on it. But at the same time, I don't think about it so much. Sometimes when I'm playing, I'll see the shapes. Like, for instance, this one. That's our G form, and this is... So I'll see that form pretty pretty easily there, but it's only like one portion of it. Does that make sense? But you can use the caged, the pentatonic shapes to kind of solo and what have you. But it's nothing that even if I spent a half hour with maybe a couple of you would get it, but the rest of you aren't going to get it because we have to study some other concepts before that, like the actual pentatonic shapes. We'd have to do that. Him, thank you for the donation. I can play bar chords, but finally understanding how to use them. Best lesson ever. Woo! Yeah, okay, beautiful, Him. Thank you so much. Again, friends, we come to these things sometimes organically where we're like, brother shows you a bar chord. Dude, you can do this. You're playing a song and that one song needs a bar chord and you're like, I can play it, and you learn it, but then you're like, no one really shows you what to do with it. Well, that's what we're doing here now, and it will make you infinitely more powerful on your instrument because now you know what to do with them, right? And not only do you know what to do with them, now you're usually learning all this stuff times 12, which I don't know about you, but if I could do that with everything in my life, I would sign me up, you know? Okay. Eric, do you play the G octave in a strumming? Learned it on Udemy. That sounds like a question, but it doesn't make sense because you're saying G octave in a strumming, learning it on Udemy. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Anant. I'm so sorry. Okay. $421 thumbs up. Thanks, friends. Beautiful. All right, I'm looking, all caps, if you would. All caps and a question mark. And if we have anything from Facebook or any of the other formats that you guys want to pop up, Mike, feel free to do that, since I'm only looking at the one right now. Ricardo, actually, I'm going to go over to Facebook here really quickly, and I'm going to look there. Can we use the, so Amber Roper is saying this is on Facebook, which Amber is one of our top fans, and she's so active in our Facebook community, and I thank you so much for that, Amber, because I can only be in so many places at once, and she answers a lot of questions in there. Thank you, Amber. You rule. So can we use the caged positions as springboards to bar chords? Indeed. And in fact, all those springboards that we talk about are in there. They're always in there, you know? So yes, indeed, you can do that. Glenn. All right.
Got a donation on YouTube.
On YouTube, really? Oh, sorry. Yeah, on YouTube. Sorry. I thought you meant on Facebook. Beautiful. So kind. Another donation coming in. Catching up. Beautiful. All right. Nice. Finger picking ideas. Emily, I've got all sorts of finger picking exercises for you, but let's talk about it in a nutshell here. Thanks, great stuff. Noel, thank you, buddy. Finger picking, I'm just going to give you a basic of this, Emily, because I've got lots of videos on YouTube on finger picking. Search YourGuitarSage finger picking. I'll walk you through it. Same dude with the same head, teaching you the same concepts, but in more depth, okay? Essentially, Emily, what you want to do is the thumb wants to take care of strings 6, 5, and 4. And fingers 1, 2, and 3 should take care of strings 3, 2, and 1. So essentially, if you take your hand and you put your thumb on the 6th string, take your ring finger, put it on the 1st string, put your 2nd finger and put it on the 2nd string, and put your 1st finger on the 3rd string, that's called resting position, just like that. Get used to, whenever you pick up the guitar, to just put your hands right there. That's called resting position. And when you do that, you will know immediately where to go in regards to finger picking. If you want to pick inside, you just bring them inside one. Otherwise, just keep them on the outside strings there. It's just like if you can touch type, right? You're not looking at your fingers, but you just touch type. You have to find home row. And more importantly than that, there's a couple little indentations, one on the F and one on the J, to where your hands can go right there. You can feel it, and when you know you're there, you know you're in the right place, so everything else should be in the right place, right? So, and then as far as exercises, I've got a ton of exercises for you, Emily. Check out YourGuitarSage. Check out Unstoppable Guitar System Standard. Okay, that's free for you today, and I also have finger picking lessons for you as well. Okay, on YouTube. So, what's the best way to learn how to flow and improv? Mr. Music, the best way to learn to flow and improv. So we had a whole week of this last week. The very last week, we did this. We learned how to phrase because, like I say, a child with a dictionary is not going to be very talkative because that child doesn't know syntax or the order that words should go into, right? Johnny bit the dog bit Johnny. Those are using the same exact words, but the syntax is different, so it's going to have something, it has a different meaning. So, context and syntax and tone and all sorts of things like that, that has to be taught by actually mimicking, which is what we do when we are when we're copying someone's solo, or we're doing call and response, or we're doing that sort of thing, when we're creating phrases. So what I would implore you to do, Mr. Music, is I would implore you to try to create phrases. Now that's one thing for me to say, it's another thing to do. So I'm giving you that information too. Watch the series from last week. Okay, you can just go into my videos and just go by order, by date order, and you'll find it. Watch some of those videos. We did 5 days worth. So 10 hours is available for you where we're doing this call and response stuff. And it's just loaded full of yummy stuff for you to get and to get into your repertoire. But it really is about creating phrases with the right syntax and everything else. But usually copying someone is a good thing to do. Learning someone's solo, all sorts. I have transcribed solos since I was a kid, and that stuff is absolutely the best because you're learning the vocabulary from that particular player. If you're learning from Jimmy Page, you're not just learning from Jimmy Page, you're also learning from Robert Johnson and all the guys that inspired Jimmy Page. So you're learning a lineage of licks that are just classic. Someone saying Corey is here. Corey Congilio. Corey, what's up, brother? There he is. Yeah. Corey is a fantastic player and an amazing teacher. And is it Thursday? It is. So Corey's going to be teaching today, hopefully right after this, and we'll drop his link for that so that you guys can check him out because he's a beast of a player and a great dude, and he will teach you some amazing bits on the fretboard. So how do I take care of the right hand nails? Mine always want to split or fray. So Butter Guy, I used to have problems with this all the time as well, and I had this problem for decades. I'm 50 years old, and I think it was about a year ago that I stopped having these issues. Part of it had to do with what I ate, but really I think the bigger part of it had to do with what I do now is I carry a file with me, and I have them on my desk, and I have them at home, and I have one in my wallet. And what I do is if I'm just sitting around, if I'm on the phone or something, I'll take that thing out and I will just hit my nails and just buff them a little bit. Just hit them a couple times, and what that does is it keeps any little nicks or anything out of it, which if you have that and then you start playing or you're sleeping at night and they get caught on the sheets and then boom, you got a nail ripped off, and that's a real pain. I understand that. So that's what you want to do is instead of cutting your nails, just have a file with you every day and just hit them one time a day. Boom. Once every other day, something like that will be great. And you probably will not have split nails anymore. Okay. Misfortune question: do you think you'll ever have a duel with samurai guitarists over the honor of your clan? I love samurai guitarists. I would love to have him on the show actually, and I don't know where he is. I don't think he's in Nashville, but I love that guy, and I would love to have him on the show. So there's just we have so many great players and teachers in our community. It's really hard to keep up with everybody. I'm trying to interview as many folks as possible and have as many people as possible on the show, and we just have this is the coolest community ever. Everybody's so kind. I haven't met a jerk yet that I can think of. Yeah, don't chew your nails, my knees. Don't chew them if you want them to stay cool, you know? Now listen to this. Marty said just play 3 notes of the scale over and over and see if something happens. 100%. 100%. You know, we have to experiment and we have to observe everything. This is anything in life, right? I had a buddy who I want to have on the show sometime. I had a video of him one time, Ben Pegg. I met him in Key West one time when I was down there, and I was eating at Blue Heaven, a wonderful breakfast place. I was eating down there, and this guy got up and played, and I was floored at his prowess. He was slapping and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. Not my style, but nonetheless, you could tell that he practiced a lot and was very into his instrument, and it was amazing. And why am I telling you this story? How did I get off on this tangent? Hold on. Marty said play 3 notes of a scale over and over and see what happens. I don't know how I got off on this. It'll make sense to me in a minute. Okay, let's go back to Marty. Talking about the 3 notes. Yes, you have to observe everything that you're doing. I don't know how I got off on that story. Hold on. It'll come back to me. You do have to observe everything that you're doing on the instrument, right? And everything in life we have to observe. So when we say a particular something, it's like, what's the result? That's how I got to my buddy here. Okay, so my buddy, Ben, when he would perform, he would do this at, I forgot, someplace up north, Connecticut or something. He would play. And he said inevitably, whenever he wore this particular tie, and he played, his tips in his tip jar went through the roof when he wore a particular tie. So psychologically, somehow that tie got him more tips, and so of course he wore that tie all the time. Well, if he hadn't observed that, he wouldn't have gotten that nugget of gold. And if you have a blues chord progression going and you're doing this, well, I wonder why it's not sounding better. Weird. So weird. It just doesn't sound good. I just keep doing this and it doesn't sound any better. I wonder how long I could do this and it wouldn't start sounding like a solo. I wonder if I did that for an hour. No, of course not. You need to observe. You need to go, well, why doesn't that sound good? What could I do? Let me take just 3 notes. And you just sit there with it, especially over a chord progression, and you're going to hear some notes will jump out and sound much better than other notes. And then if you observe that and you take note of that, then next time you probably won't hit the sour note, you'll hit the good note. And you just do this more and more and more, right? So I've always said we learn what to play by learning what not to play. And that's another way of learning guitar. It's a longer way, but you can do that. So yes, that is true. Can I use the pentatonic form in any place in the fret, like the G form in frets 1, 2, and 3? Yeah, you can use any form in any place on the neck. Here's the form you're talking about. This is open position. Yep, that's the pentatonic 1 right down there. Make sense? Cool. Indeed did, yeah. I'm with you there, man. I do miss Key West so badly. Beautiful, Susan. What Susan Banta says right here, try adding some pauses to your playing. Empty space can change the feel. 100%. Check this out. If I did something to piss my dad off when I was little, and he did this, and he just did this, he didn't say a word, and that was really powerful. That made me go, oh, I did something wrong. And the same thing is true when you're speaking. The same thing is true when you're playing. So if something sounds good and you go, you can repeat notes. You can stop. There's something about stopping for a moment and letting people digest what it is that you just said. It also gives you a moment to think about what you're going to say next instead of being that guy who's like this. He just won't shut up. He's that guy, right? You don't want that guy. You want to be the guy who thinks about something, says something eloquent, says something poignant, and then get the heck out of Dodge, okay? In Nashville, the Nashville players, they are champs at this. They say what they need to say. They get the heck out of Dodge because the producer doesn't want them to say anything more than that. They just say a little bit, and in fact, we probably want the solo to sound exactly like the chorus, so just play the melody of the chorus, if you would, for the solo. And that's kind of the way it is. But that's very commercial sounding, you know what I mean? Rick, I was late today. Did I miss the crew cam? You did miss the crew cam. You did miss the crew cam. But you might see it again. Who knows? We're tricky like that. Yeah. Mike doesn't like the crew cam. If Mike put pants on, he would like the crew cam.
It's too warm. Too warm.
All right. Okay, let's look at this one here. Jamin, I shouldn't probably try to pronounce people's names. Was revising through the intervals theory from day 2. Is this right for G major scale? Root is G. Major 2 is A. Major 3 is the B. Perfect 4 is a C. Perfect D is the 5. Major 6 is the E. Major 7 is the F sharp. G is the octave. Yes, sir, you're 100% correct. That is totally true. Yeah, good job, my friend. Yeah. Yes. All right, yeah, so as far as that improvisation, also find some jam tracks. Make sure that you can understand what key you're in. A couple other videos that will absolutely help you with this is search YourGuitarSage Minimalistic Blues and also YourGuitarSage Call and Response. So just like a mother or father will work with their child and they'll say, mama, and they're looking at their lips and they're feeling the lips, and then they do it. You know, it takes a little bit for you to get it, but they're doing it through imitation, and their eyes are observing and they're taking so much in, and then they can repeat, right? And so if I'm sitting in front of you and I'm doing this and I say, okay, man, I'm at the eighth position and I'm playing this, and I'd show you the notes ahead of time, well, you have an idea of where we're at. You know we're in the 8th position. It's like that child who's touching mama's lips while she says, mama, right? And then after a while, you'll be able to get it. And then eventually, you'll get better and better and better at this, and you can listen to long passages of music and be able to play them like that. For real. But it doesn't come without step 1, and then step 2, and then step 3. There is no skipping a step. You might be faster at one than another, but at the end of the day, it's all this. You got to go through each one of those steps, faux show. Okay. Yes, when people hear space, they listen harder. Ooh, that's deep. There's good stuff in that. When people hear space, they listen harder. It's 100% true. Fingerstyle confusion. Sue Gates is saying, your way, use the pinky, other way, not using the pinley, top 3 as bass line. Your lesson, the 4th string gets hit by which finger, kept confusing me. Sue, let me ask you this. How often are you needing to hit that string? That's the thing I'd ask. Because number 1, that pinky is super short. In classical music, in classical guitar, which is purely finger picking, so we're using finger picking a lot, we just don't use the pinky. It's not to say you couldn't use the pinky if you had a 5-note chord, but most of the time you're not picking more than 5 notes or more than 4 notes at a time. You're just not, right? Bach chorales were 4 notes. So you very rarely are hitting more than that at once, and if you are, then you would just do a strum like that, okay? That sort of thing. We're just talking two, maybe 3 notes at a time. So you can use your pinky if you want. There's nothing wrong if you did that, but I'm telling you, you ain't going to use it very often. So it just stays out of the way. I think I use it, God, probably one time out of every 1,000 notes. Not even. I mean, one time out of every 2,000, 3,000 notes, I may use the pinky. But honestly, I never use it. Never use it. So you could if you wanted to, but you don't use it. You just won't find a reason to use it. That's what I'm saying. Look, if you're doing a like 4-note arpeggio, you know, you're just not going to be using it. Dennis, yeah, can you have the crew introduce themselves? Place the face with the name. Maybe. They're very, very shy. They're very shy. Huh? Hey, there's Mike and there's Emmy. Hey, there you go. See, now you'll know their face when they're walking down the street. Beautiful. Right, there you go. There's Mike and there's Emmy. Okay, later on, you're going to see their whole faces. Jeez, my goodness. All right, minimalistic blues, hands down, will change and evolve your playing. Thank you, Marco, for letting folks know it. It's amazing. Completely changed my articulation as a player. It's not what you're saying, but how you're saying it. 100%. I don't know of a player in the history of ever who didn't learn a scale or a mode or pentatonic box or something like that and said, well, now I've learned it. Why don't I play like Jimi Hendrix? Why don't I play like Stevie Ray Vaughan? Why can't I say anything intelligent? Because for the same reason that an infant doesn't learn from a dictionary. They ain't talking from a dictionary. They're learning by mimicking somebody else. And the more you can start mimicking somebody, then the better you're going to be. But Eric, I want to develop my own voice. Oh, so hold on. You're saying you talk like your mom? So you talk like your mom and your dad, right? You say everything they say in the dialect that they do or the tone that they do. Well, sure, you're going to have a little bit of influence there, but my guess, methinks that you have your own voice in all this, okay? Or if you were studying painting from somebody, just because you were watching Bob Ross doesn't mean that everything you're going to paint is going to look like Bob Ross. You might, if you like him and you like his style, then you will steal some of his ideas. Every guitar player in the history of ever. Corey does this. I do this. RJ does this. There's no guitarist who doesn't steal licks from other guitar players, usually the greats, and says, I love that. I'm going to do that. There is no other licks. What else is there? How many different ways can we say, I love you? Well, that's been said before. I don't want to say that. Well, it means a lot. You say, I love you, okay? So just understand that these phrases are borrowed, they're learned, it's just like speaking, okay? Why can't I say anything intelligent? Quote of the day. But it's true, right? Why or why? Laugh out loud, that's me. It's everybody. That's the thing. All right. Right. Let's look through. I'm going to go through Facebook here in just a moment. Let's see if there's anything ever on the Facebooks. The Facebook. Thank you, Amber. You are a saint. So Talana is saying, thanks very much. So it would do me justice if I joined the 365. Is that what you're saying? If I wanted you to be in any program, it would be in the Unstoppable Guitar System. But here's the deal. When you're in the Unstoppable Guitar System, at least the pro version of it, we actually give you 365 also. 365 is a workout. It's a daily workout for you. So just like when you go to the gym, it's go time. We're not teaching you about the guitar. That's not the point. You could learn about the anatomy in school. You could learn about how certain exercises might affect certain muscles, but you're not working out while you're doing that. When you go to the gym and your coach says to you, drop and give me 20, you're not learning about muscles. You're not learning about nutrition. You're working out. 365 is working out. That's all it is. It's not teaching you about guitar. That's not what it's intended for. It's not a defect that it doesn't teach you that. That's not its job. Its job is to work your ass out. It's to work your fingers out hard. Starting you week 1, 7 different levels, 7 different subjects, including finger picking, economy picking, hammer-ons, pull-offs, alternate picking, that sort of thing. 7 different days, and every single day that particular subject comes up. Over 52 weeks, I start you off very simply on week 1, and by the end of 52 weeks, you are doing rock star stuff, okay? So it's just basically a workout program that will help you to understand the unlimited being that you are. Because I know this as a fact. I know it as a fact because I know I'm not any more special than you. I'm special. I'm super special. But you're super special too. And if everybody's super special, then we're kind of all in the same place again, okay? Meaning we all have the possibilities of doing anything that we want to do on the guitar or anything else for that matter, but definitely not without the work. The work is the 365. But that's not going to teach you about guitar. That's what UGS is about, the Unstoppable Guitar System. Cool. Judy Pashada, and I know how to pronounce your name because I went to school with John Pashada. I don't know if you guys are related because that's the first time I've ever seen that name other than your name here, Judy, is John Pashada, who I went to school with. He's a guitar player and a producer and a buddy of mine here in Nashville. Is that your relative? I don't know. All right. Cool, cool, cool. All right. I'm looking. All caps with a question mark, if you would, even on Facebook. Okay. All right, bounce back over to YouTube. Oh boy. Larry's going to get wrapped. He's going to have his knuckles wrapped. I went to Catholic school, so I got my knuckles wrapped by the nuns. Okay. Beautiful. How do I improve picking speed? Ethan. Number 1, practice. Obviously, it's only practice. So that's the 30,000 foot view level. It's practice. It's only practice. It will only be practice. There is no other replacement for practice. It's not the pick. Although a pick, the right type of pick is helpful, but chances are you could do a lot more by practice than just having the right pick, but we'll talk more about that. Yes, I do know Desi Cerna. Yeah, he's a friend of mine. Super cool guy. We've met for lunch. We've talked a lot about guitar. He's been on the show before, actually. Steve, thank you for the donation, brother. So kind. Super kind. So practice. But here's the deal. What a lot of people do is they'll practice their scales. That's good. Practice your scales. You want to know them. Practice your chords. You want to know them. You want these things to be part of your vocabulary. But you could practice, say, like the pentatonic scale all the livelong day, right? Could do it all day long, and then when you go to play a blues riff or something, it may not be there available under your fingers unless you're playing it very close to the way that you play those scales. So what I always suggest is this, and this is exactly how I practice anymore. If I want to learn the solo for Sultans of Swing, I don't practice the scales for the Sultans of Swing, and I don't practice exercises for the Sultans of Swing. I practice the Sultans of Swing. I practice that solo because every little nuance, that solo has, I don't know how many notes, hundreds of notes in it. And I don't know about hundreds, it's got a lot of notes in it. But nonetheless, they're in order of there's no other solo that has the notes in that order with that sort of nuance and everything else, like every other solo. They're their own thing. So if you're going to memorize someone's speech, if you're going to memorize the Gettysburg Address, you memorizing a bunch of, Tolstoy or Emerson or I don't know whoever, some famous poetry is not going to help you per se. Yeah, it'll grow synapses and stuff, but it's not going to help you as much as actually sitting down and memorizing the first sentence of Gettysburg Address, and so on and so forth, just stacking them. So the same thing is true with your picking. Whatever you want to get good at, practice that one specific thing. So people will say to me all the time, they'll say, hey Eric, I'm trying to play Crazy Train. They're not saying that specifically, but they're saying, I'm trying to learn blank. Do you have an exercise for that? And I say, yeah, the exercise is learn that song, like play that riff. You're gonna get quicker by going straight to the source than you are playing a bunch of exercises. That's gonna take forever. Even if the exercises are quick and easy to do, that's gonna give you a feeling that you're moving forward, but you're not moving forward that much. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. All right, good, good, good. Picking speed. Now, I'm going to read this here because I think there may be some good stuff in here. Picking speed. Watch your picking style. You may make very big movements from string to string. Little things make a difference at times. Watch better players and how they do it. And that is true. So ni ni na, beautiful. That was a great little addendum there that you just added. And yes, we could get down to some micro details like that. If you're doing real large swipes at the guitar when you could be much smaller, doing much smaller, more economical movements, then that's something that's very important. Also, economy picking. On YouTube, search YourGuitarSage economy picking, and I'll teach you about that. But essentially, that's if there's no need to cross a string, you know, when you're picking, if there's no need to cross a string, then you don't do it. That's what economy picking says, essentially. So you're economizing your movements, okay? If I am, you know, there's a reason this table is sitting directly here in front of me. I can pick up a capo. I can do all these things. If it were just 1 foot away from me, that's pretty close, but now I'm having to do this and grab out here. Well, that's not a very economical movement. In fact, I could bring this table a little bit closer and I wouldn't have to reach as far again. So that's what we call economy of movement or ergonomics. It's when you make things very simple for yourself so that especially a repetitive movement that you're doing a lot would sure make sense for you to make it as simple as possible. Take a minute and think about what it is that you're doing and get a good protocol. A protocol is a set way that you do something every single time, right? Military is filled with protocols because they know a certain way that works. Why are you going to change that if that works all the time? Do it that way every single time. And if we're all doing that, then no one gets shot, hopefully. No one gets hurt. That's why we have protocols, is because there's a specific way to do things, and it helps. So think about those ahead of time and then proceed, you know. So watch my video on economy picking. I have a whole course for that inside of Unstoppable, okay? All right, good, good. How do you pick up a lick to work on? Rick, literally, what is it that you like? If I asked you, you know, what you like to eat, you would know immediately what you like. Or if I said, what kind of gal do you like? Or what kind of car do you like? Or what kind of guitar do you like? You would have tastes. You would have something that you like. Well, I like this more than that. So that's how I want you to think. It's that simple. Don't make this confusing for yourself. Do you like that lick? Do you like Stevie Ray Vaughan? Start picking out some Stevie Ray Vaughan licks. Pick the easy licks at first. Get acquainted with that and be like, man, I'm sounding like Stevie. That's cool. That'll motivate you more, right? Same thing with anything, any genre, a particular genre or chords, you know. Figure out some songs that you like and then do those, okay? Dennis is saying, ever divide your fretboard into upper and lower strings and strum just those strings? I don't do that, but yeah, I mean, there's a reason why you might want to do that. I say I don't. Yeah, I mean, if I'm playing funk, you know, that's the top 3 strings, 4 strings-ish. Those are all the top 3 strings. So yes, sometimes I'll do that sort of thing for fun. All right. All right, Ashwin, you said please reply. That would have been a great place for a question. What to play in front of an audience if the vocalist is missing? She's a jackass. I'd say so. If she's the lead singer and she's not showing up to a gig. Not cool, bro. Well, number one, fire her unless she's got a really good reason. If this is the second time she's done this, then fire her for sure. Ain't no time for that. Look, man, you can be nice to people you can be nice to anybody. You can fire someone nicely. You can get rid of someone out of your band very nicely. And you can be kind about it, but just that's not going to work, right? So I would definitely do that. Don't let other people, and I need to be cautious the way I say this because someone's going to take this the wrong way, but don't let other people, if you have a certain level of work ethic or whatever, if you're in a band and you're rocking and rolling and whatnot, and everybody else in the band's not practicing or one guy's not practicing, get rid of them because you're as strong as the weakest link, right? The chain is as strong as the weakest link, and if that guy sucks, the whole band's going to sound bad. So get rid of her. What to play? I mean, if they're there to hear songs and you don't have a vocalist, I don't know what you're going to play. You could just, do a blues jazz odyssey for 2 hours or something, just like randomly, or play some blues or something. But I mean, that's not how much you're going to be playing blues, All right. Good. Yeah, right? Daryl's with me there. Do you learn the lyrics first? Jay Mick is saying. On what? I don't know what you mean particularly. If it's a song that I like, I'm usually, when I go to, do a cover or something like that, I usually will know the lyrics pretty good. I'm not very good with lyrics, so it's nothing for me to sing watermelon, peanut butter, whatever, when that's nothing what they said in the song. Like the whole 80s, I have no idea what they said in the 80s on any song, and I have all sorts of lyrics for them. So usually it's my version, and then I will look them up online and go, oh, that's what they're saying, and then I learn them the proper way. Otherwise, I slaughter lyrics. Is the Friends theme song user-friendly? Can you show some, please? So I don't know that off the top of my head. I feel like I've taught that. I don't know if I've taught that or not. You'd have to look that up. Just look YourGuitarSage up, Friends, but I don't think I've taught that one. I guarantee you Marty Schwartz has, though. Or what's that? Marty did. Marty did, for sure. But someone has taught that one, I can guarantee you. Look at this. Jimmy Dean fired Roy Clark for being always late. Said he was the most talented person he ever fired. They still remain friends. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, man. And that happens sometimes as people become really good at whatever it is they do. Sometimes I understand Stevie Wonder is like this, that he sometimes won't show up. And people will just be sitting there waiting around, and he has that whole attitude about him. So for as great of a musician as he is, he's kind of a jerk, I guess, when it comes to that. That's not very respectful. I don't think that's respectful. I don't think that's cool. Like, be respectful to your band. If you say you're going to be there at a certain time, be there then, or don't tell them to be there at the time. Okay, good. All right, friends, I think we've worn out our welcome. All right, we've done a lot of stuff today, all right? We talked about intervals, we talked about all that beginner stuff, we talked about the number system on Wednesday, the CAGED and bar concepts today. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about how scales and chords work together, okay? So more on this idea of harmony and how we can phrase and that sort of thing. Less about actually phrasing. It's more about like how these notes might work and why, like arpeggios and all that good stuff. So come and bring your questions tomorrow. You guys have been fantastic. Thank you for all the beautiful donations today. You guys are wonderful. If you have not already, before you leave, please hit thumbs up. But if you've done that already, don't do it again. But do share this out to the interwebs with the kids. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Yeah, all right? Having a blast here, and I'll see you guys tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Very quickly, we're going to drop that link to Corey's video one more time, and we are going to go over there right now. Cool? All right, my friends. See you then.